What's going on, Jerome's? So for years, the Minnesota Vikings have been looking for some stability at the interior offensive line. Now, center, Garrett Bradbury, Grim Reacher, we'll see. And the guard spots, definitely been up in the air. But Vikings had hope. Ed Ingram, the pride of LSU, coming on in, second round pick. Kwesi doing it again in the 2022 draft. But, yeah. Now, Ed Ingram has had some comedic moments, sure. Frankly, he's the only offensive lineman who should get credit for sacks and forced fumbles, as well as interceptions. That's all, man. But overall, even though Ed has been not great, he has improved, right? So he is a solid run blocker, both in zone as well as in man gap. And also, he reduces pressures per game, as well as halved his sacks per game as well, dropping from 11 in 2022 as a rookie to 5 last year. Now, part of that is he was injured and missed some time. But he did markedly improve his PFF pass blocking grade, but eyeball test still has a lot of work to do. Now, part of it is experience. Part of it is communication. It does seem like he does struggle with games up front, T&E, stunts, delay blitzes, etc. And you got to believe that defensive coordinators know that and have been throwing it at Ed Ingram. And overall, of all the starters, Ed was the only one who played extended time in preseason. And overall, wasn't really that great either. 40 snaps over 2 games, 3 pressures allowed, 16 PFF pass blocking grade, which is not good because it's 155th out of 159 qualifying guards, which is not great. And the entire process of bringing back Dalton Reisner here, artist rendition, I think this is our guy Eli Corbett, was to give Ed Ingram some competition and give the Vikings a viable alternative if Ed Ingram faltered. But, of course, Reisner ended up on short-term IR, and the Vikings are just rolling with Ingram at right guard and also Blake Brandel as the new starter at left guard. And Darren Doogie-Wolfson points out here that so Ingram's going to start week 1, but the full season is not promised. Vikes fan page. The right guard position is one to keep an eye on moving forward for the Vikings. Doogie mentioned on Score North. Wolfson believes Minnesota has had a number of discussions internally about the future of the right guard position. Ingram will likely start week 1 against the Giants, but there are concerns on his security at that spot later on. So mainly, once Dalton Reisner returns from injured reserve after missing a minimum of 4 games, he could be in there. Also, don't sleep on Diamond Dam Feeney. Also, Michael Juergens, the rookie. Plus, they did experiment Walter Rouse kicking inside, even though he probably should stick at tackle. Also, hey, don't sleep on our guy Tyrese Robinson, man. T-Rob. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Long story longer, Andrew Kramer over the Star Tribune did up a great piece about Ed Ingram this week, and Ed knows that there's pressure on him. And I kind of like when players are self-aware and are honest about it, because players that are in danger of losing their jobs are always like, oh, we're just focused here, one play at a time, one practice at a time. Now, Ed knows. Ed knows that he has to step it up early in year 3. This is what Kramer wrote. After what Ed Ingram called a slow start to training camp, he was the only Viking starter sent out to play in the team's first 2 preseason games, exhibitions largely saved for the backups fighting for rooster spots. That's okay with him, Ingram said. He wants to improve. Some or so he stopped offense coordinator Wes Phillips after a late August practice to get further coaching points. The two talked while Phillips stepped through pointers about pass protection. An observer stopped Ingram afterwards to ask about the talk. Quote, I've been with them 3 years, so just communicating, Ingram told the Minnesota Star Tribune. It's weird that's Minnesota now. Asking what are things I need to work on, what are things I'm good at, what are things I'm bad at. I'm always reaching to get better and better, so whatever I can do to get better and be better for this team, I want to be part of that. Better. Just asking him, what can I do to make sure they're comfortable going into week 1? Continuing. Ingram again. I feel like I've grown a lot just seeing the overall defense. Like the first 2 years, I wasn't seeing stuff in the defense. I was just blocking, but now I can kind of see where pressures are coming from. Now, that's important because, yeah, it's great when college offensive linemen just come into the NFL and are just gangbusters, just fantastic, right? But a lot of it is, hey, you can get by on physical talent, which Ed Ingram does have in spades, but I mean, it's really cerebral up front, and the game is very fast on the interior. And, Like we said, Ingram has struggled with games up front, stunts, delayed blitzes, everything like that, and they're throwing the kitchen sink at him because they know that they can make some hay there. There are still improvements to be made, especially in pass protection, but Ingram said he's glad he was the only offensive starter left out in preseason play. Quote, I'm a guy that does better when I'm actually getting reps and working through stuff, he said, so I feel like those games were good for me. Now, the Vikings, like I said, are going to start Ingram week 1. But once Reisner gets back, and maybe they do have some faith in guys like Jurgens or Feeney or Rouse or Tyrese Robinson, it could be open. So Ingram knows that he has to start fast, and that's fine. And also, what could be good too is the Vikings' rededication to the run game, and they are going to run a lot more inside zone, a lot more man gap concepts this year versus the outside zone. And Ingram has been perfectly solid as a run blocker. Like, he has the mobility to get out in space, ability to get horizontal, get wide in outside zone, and of course does have diesel power up front in man just going forward. So maybe it is a confidence thing. Like, if the Vikings are able to run the ball successfully, play action gets a little bit more viability, a little bit less pressure put on the offensive line and Ed Ingram. So maybe this could work out. But Ed knows that he has to start fast. He has to start quick, and also he has to know that he is the target of all defensive coordinators and defensive players. But hopefully he can step up in year 3. Otherwise, that 2022 draft class, I don't know, man. I don't know. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings right guard Ed Ingram knows that he has to improve and start fast in 2024. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.